Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be watching a video called Moving Ready 3D Printed House in Germany. So this looks insane to me. I know that 3D printing is a thing, but I've never heard of it like in this scale. I think I've heard like people making like paperweights or like car keys and stuff, but even I'm saying it and I'm hearing myself and I'm sounding crazy. So I don't know, because I'm guessing this is true. Like, I don't think this is like, I think it's reality, right? I don't know. Maybe it's like in the future, that's what we'll get. I don't know, but I'm super curious to find out. So let's check it out and comment, like, subscribe, and start.
Think of the most innovative house in the world. What comes to mind? For me, it's all about the way you build it. You can turn any home into a smart home with renovations, innovative systems for electrical, mechanical, plumbing. But what really makes a home innovative, in my opinion, is the way it's built. The biggest need right now is in affordable housing and building more homes at a faster pace. Historically, the supply for housing has never really caught up to demand, and so we're left in an environment where real estate is increasing at a faster rate than inflation. My first video of this house got over 500,000 views and is my most viewed video to date.
This is a beautiful house.
So then I went to Germany and toured this house with the head architect himself. For some reason, that video got 1/10 views of the original, but today we're back to show the finished product of what I consider the most innovative house in the world. Since we last discussed it about 8 or 9 months ago, I've learned quite a bit more about 3D printed construction and specifically this project. So before we go into the finished details, let's look at how it was constructed and revisit some of the innovative choices they made, which together make this such a fascinating project.
It's round.
This building was 3D printed by Perry. They used a Cobod printer. Perry is actually a stakeholder in the Cobod company. This was a brilliant move because Perry does a ton of formwork concrete. So by investing in 3D printed concrete, they're hedging their bet in the industry they are now operating in. After completing the first floor, they installed an insulated concrete form floor. This also includes a lot of the electrical and mechanical equipment, as this house has radiant heat, which will make it much more environmentally friendly than alternative heating options. Any place they have horizontal overhangs, they needed to prefab the structures. Some of these are prefab insulated concrete forms, and other portions are 3D printed parts that are lifted into place on site. These were printed off site, and we'll take a look at that later. Finally, they placed the forms again and then poured the roof. We've also seen more traditional gable roofs integrated with Cobod system. That time lapse really leaves out quite a bit of details. First, they have to put the printer together. They receive it in parts. There are columns that make the Z-axis, and then a bar that goes from the left to right side that makes the X-axis, and it also goes forward and backward, which is the Y-axis.
How much does this thing weigh?
The vertical columns need to be on anchors so that they can be stable. Assembling the entire printer is approximately an 8-hour process. Disassembling the printer takes about 4 hours. This
shorter than I thought, actually.
Features what they call an E-axis and a U-axis. The E is the extruder, and the U is the orientation of the extruder head, as it can rotate 360 degrees to accommodate any angles. This is necessary because Cobod uses a print head that extrudes a rectangular shape as opposed to a circular extruder head that many companies opt for, which doesn't require a U-axis. Printing is definitely the fun part of the job. Once everything gets going, it takes about 3 people monitoring the system to make sure everything's running smoothly. One person will watch the extruder head, another person will sit at the laptop, a third person will monitor the material from the silo. On some job sites, hose management can be particularly tricky, and in that case, you'll have a 4th person specifically responsible for managing the hose. It's awesome watching everything come together, as the machine does most of the work. It's clever how Cobod has this serrated pattern at the top of each layer. This probably helps it hold a bond to the previous layer. The beauty of printed concrete is that it hasn't cured by the end of the first layer, so when you print the next layer on top, you end up with a monolithic structure, which is
very
just
pretty.
as strong
Yeah, I love the
as if
finish.
you had poured it into a traditional form. In fact, with the mixes they use,
Oh my God, it's like
printed
icing a
walls
cake.
are often significantly stronger than their poured formwork alternative, not to mention the custom wavy patterns you can do for bonus points. The gap between
Like
the
a
inner and
cake.
outer wall is where they can put insulation. Here we see a close-up of what the system looks like when the U-axis is rotating. You have to clean the system every once in a while. As you can see, it gets a little bit of material
It gets
buildup
dirty,
just from
yeah.
regular use. And with concrete, it cures very quickly. So unless you want to use a chisel, it's best to get it thoroughly cleaned after every use.
And
There
do you have
have
to
been
stop the
cases
thing?
where a printer that's not kept in top condition ends up with a clog either at the extruder head or in the hose, more likely.
Oh, he's
In this
seeing how
case,
the thing goes.
occasionally they'll have to hit the hose with hammers in order to get rid of the clog. By
God,
doing
hammers.
maintenance at proper intervals and making sure you clean it really well, you can avoid the likelihood of some of these scenarios that can lead to excessive
absolute
time and
sense.
money being wasted.
Yeah.
Another common learning experience I've heard from many job sites is equipment management. When you're printing a house, you have a large silo pumping material into the mixer pump system, which then goes into the hose, which feeds into the extruder head of your machine. You need a generator, a silo, and your mixer pump system to all
What's
be connected to the same system while the print head is moving continuously. On large complicated prints, this might mean you have to move your equipment every day, and that's a little bit of a logistics puzzle to figure out where everything should go. Part of what makes this the most innovative house in the world is how it's the first of its kind. Once there are tons of homes like this, it'll be much easier because they'll already know how to overcome some of the challenges
Of course,
they
they know
face.
what to do.
Here you see the beaded foam insulation that they use to keep the house warm in the winter. They
Oh,
were
that's
considerate
insulation.
of electrical, mechanical, and plumbing in the planning phase, and so they had some pass-throughs that were installed during the print to make it extremely easy. Installing these pass-throughs required no saws, no drills. It's almost
because you-
easier than Lego. These metal ties
Okay.
provide support between the inner and outer wall without having too much of a cold bridge. Remember
Okay,
the
they're like the
prefabricated
columns.
parts we were talking about earlier for horizontal overhangs? Here's the installation process. They were lifted into place overhead by a crane and then installed by manual laborers. These pieces were all printed off-site for the parapet of the home.
Why do they
By
print it
combining
outside?
on-site and off-site printing, you're really able to accomplish a lot that wouldn't be feasible with just one or the other. That being said, they probably could have printed these pieces on-site before
Yeah.
they started the home. You can definitely tell a significant difference in quality between the prints done in this warehouse and the prints done outside. These indoor warehouse prints look crispy, and look how clean the machine is.
Yes,
This is
it's true.
probably before they started printing the house. Either that, or it's a completely different machine. At the very
It looks
least, a
different. It looks very
extruder
different.
head. These printed lines are approximately 6.5 centimeters long. You can also tell it's really easy to make holes in it, which can be done either during or after the print.
I would say
Now for
during.
the moment you've all been waiting for, the finished product. When I was in Germany back in June, they had scaffolding all around the building, and so you couldn't appreciate it in its true form the way you can in these pictures. This is even before the landscaping, but it really looks sharp.
No, it's gorgeous, yes.
Architecture is an industry where people often try to conform
Oh
to
my
traditional
God, it's
styles.
beautiful.
But this home is totally unique. Mensa Corte did a great job creating a design that was worthy of the construction method.
Yeah, decorating
Like a
it.
chain is only as strong as its weakest link, a concrete printer is only as valuable as the models you can print with it. The finishing of this house is terrific in my opinion. It's
very
super
modern.
and the printed walls are not overwhelming despite being tremendously exposed.
I love this part.
Many of the
Oh
homes
my God,
I
that's the
visit
bathtub.
choose to hide parts of the printed wall, and while it's nice to know this can be done, I honestly really
I like
prefer
it.
leaving the walls exposed. This
Same,
is also
yeah.
the best way to maximize your value instead of paying extra for finishes that really add nothing but subjective aesthetics.
Yeah.
In many ways, this home is totally unrecognizable from the state it was in when I first visited. Those detail-oriented Germans really did a phenomenal job, and I think this staircase is one of my favorite parts of the building. The black accent walls in the details and
Did
appliances
they painted that one?
really
and that's
give a
it?
uniform, modern look. They also
is crazy.
have
It
an
looks like
entire smart
this
home
Asian-
system built into a closet behind that bookshelf that Vladimir Korte explained to us in the video I recorded with him last time I was here. I feel pretty confident that Mensa Korte will pursue more 3D printed construction projects in the future, as I really think they had fun with this one. Oftentimes when people think of 3D printed houses, they think of the false media news that was spread years ago about a $10,000 or $4,000 3D printed house. Now, that's not a very realistic number. This house isn't meant to be a cheap house by any means.
Oh my god, it's expensive,
It was
yeah.
built to show what this technology is capable of on the higher end, when you put a lot of thought and time into the process and you consider what's possible with printing that wasn't really possible beforehand.
Yeah,
How
it's
do you
crazy.
feel about the design of this house? With anything so new and unique, there are bound to be a variety of opinions. Please share yours in the comments below and we can see what Mensa Korte did that the public appreciate and what they can maybe change for next time. I'm sure they would like to get some feedback in terms of how the public views their work.
But
One of my favorite parts of this project is that it's not built in a big German city. It's built in a smaller old suburb. Many
really,
of the
so
people don't even really speak English. For this technology to be reaching into rural areas in Germany,
yeah, it's nice.
also in Richmond, Virginia, Williamsburg, Arizona, Florida, all over the world, really demonstrates the pervasiveness of this technology. It creates an automatic intrigue from passerby
Oh, that's how it
and
was?
anybody who catches wind of this new 3D printed home. Most people still only think of small plastic objects when you tell them about 3D printing,
Me.
but that's going to change. Maybe it will be one of you in the audience who discovers some of the efficiencies of printing and makes housing more affordable for people all over the world.
Okay, so this was incredibly interesting. I like seriously, most people think of 3D printing as like, again, very small objects. It's like, yeah, same. Like that's what I thought. I never imagined it could be like this, but it wasn't like what I was thinking. I was imagining again more like Legos. I know he thinks like he's like it's easier than Legos, but I was imagining like because I'm thinking again in like smaller objects and that they just sort of like assemble it in place. But this one is crazy. I had no idea that the thing is actually like pouring concrete. You know, like the 3D printer is printing concrete, basically. That's crazy. I could never have imagined in my wildest dreams that this was possible because I'm like, wait, don't you need like columns and stuff? I don't know, like you need stuff. But no, it's just like, obviously you have the blueprints and, you know, there's, from what I can understand, there's like a person, you know, in a laptop that he has the blueprint and he's monitoring that, you know, like everything's happening as it should, you know, that the concrete is being poured in the exact same shape and form that they need, because like we saw like mostly just like the outer shell, you know, like the outer walls. But I'm wondering, okay, but the bedrooms, I don't think we saw the bedrooms, so I'm wondering, like, because everything's like open space, but how come? Well, I guess it would just like move around. Like you need the separation, like you need to like, I don't know, build a hallway if you need a hallway or again a bedroom. Then, or even a bathroom, obviously they're obviously closed, so it's like, do you need to like, I don't know, you need to move the machine until like in here because there's just a separation wall. I don't know, I would have liked to see that, but it's crazy. I love all the, I don't know, like the finish of it all. It's very like, it's rough, you know, it's very like, it feels rough to the touch. It's not smooth, but I love the finish. Like he was like, you can also, you know, you can just like, I don't know, like put something there, you know, like you don't have to have this finish, but I really do like the finish. But I think it goes well with the whole house. It's very like it's modern. But also I think there were some inspiration like mid-century modern, something like just modern, like very little futuristic, a little modern, but also like mid-century modern, as in like 1950s. I love all those designs, and I think they really do blend well with this finish. But obviously it's all, you know, the architects really did thought about this, so it was like, yes, you know, the finish is gonna go well with the whole layout of the house and the whole decor and everything. So it makes sense for them not to cover it. But I like it because also it's very different. I don't think I've ever seen something like that before. So obviously if you want a house, you're like, well, I want an original house. I don't want something usual. So I love it, and I don't know why people would actually like change it if that's what you're going with like 3D printing for for your house, then obviously you wouldn't change it. But I really do think, or maybe I don't know, but I think I like part of it. Part of the whole thing is having this finish. But I do have to say, the ones that the pre-made parts that they built in a factory were definitely very different. Like the finish was incredibly, like it was, you can tell the difference. It's crazy because the thing looks so smooth and so like perfect that it didn't even look real in a way. It's like, how you're telling me that that's real? I don't know. It's crazy. Because it doesn't look real. Like everything's so perfectly like smooth and like in place. I don't know how to explain it, but it looks unreal. It looks like a cartoon or something that's animated or something, because it doesn't even look real. I'm like, I want to touch it because it looks smooth and very like weird looking, like cool to the touch or something. But I love it. And also I love the fact that it's like it's in a random neighborhood in a random city. It's not in a big city. So it's like, okay, so it's like the only house that you can see in this neighborhood that is like that. Because I mean, I'm guessing like all the other houses in this neighborhood are just like normal looking houses. So it's like it's impossible to miss. Like when you're like driving around, you're like, what is this? It looks very different. Definitely stands out. But I want to know if someone lives there, because they didn't really mention anyone, actually like buying the house. I don't know if the house actually belonged to someone, or they as a company just like built it and then they sold it, or it was like made like with the owner in mind, like the owner participated in like the whole process. I would have loved to know that. And also the price, because he said like it's not cheap. So he's like, okay, so how much are we talking about? Because it looks expensive. It looks incredibly expensive. Although he was saying maybe like it's cheaper. I don't know if it's cheaper, but like in the future it's gonna be cheaper because it's gonna be widespread. So people are gonna be using this. But for the moment, it doesn't look cheap. But I would love to know how much are we talking about, especially like compared to the medium houses. The other houses, like again in this neighborhood, for instance, like how much would it cost you to actually build a normal house? Just like a normal house, how much did it cost? And compared to something like this, how much would it cost? Because I'm like scared, because he was like, well, it's not cheap, like it's gonna cost you. But he has hope that in the future, like because it's gonna be widespread, it's gonna be cheaper. So I think maybe long term, we're speaking long term, yes, it's gonna be cheaper to build like this. I don't know why actually. I think maybe because you have less people, so with fewer people you have to pay them less. Maybe that's why it's cheaper, because I think the materials, or is it the materials, because it's concrete, you're always gonna need concrete, and maybe like the insulation and stuff, you're always gonna need that. Maybe like the wooden and metal parts that usually like houses have, maybe that really does increase the cost, and compared to something like this, it's actually cheaper. I don't know, but obviously you have to take into account that this machine, because again, it's not normal to have one of these machines, it's obviously going to be very expensive. And also I think that because you only need, I think, 3 or 4 people to actually like do this whole process. I'm guessing those people do not come in cheap, because obviously you need to have like the person that does like the laptop thing. I don't know, is he an engineer? I don't know what is he, but I'm guessing someone that's really highly specialized. So I'm guessing again, he's not cheap. But yes, I would love to know the details on the money business, because yes, and if someone actually lives there, because it looks beautiful. But I would love to know if someone like actually bought this house because it's beautiful, or it's just I don't know, for sure. Like if people are interested in like, it's like a model house, and people are interested in like hiring in this company in order for you to like build this house. Maybe like this is the model house and you can see how it looks and stuff, and then you can just hire them to make your own 3D printed house, but to your liking, because you're going to work with an architect. But yeah, very, very curious. But I love this. I love it, and I want to touch it because I don't know, it looks like cold to the touch, but also like rough. I don't know. I loved it. But yeah, that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.